The Zen philosopher Basho once wrote, "A flute with no holes is not a flute. A donut with no hole is a Danish." Or was it Lou Diamond who said that? Who the heck can remember?
Want to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Master the Art of Connecting and professional speaker Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on the planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to a spectacular, fantabulous, absolutely unbelievable episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm really up today, aren't I, man? We are here today, and I am so excited to bring you an individual who has a focus on people and purpose. This gentleman works to create a culture of care in both individuals and organizations. He serves as the CEO of GoBundance, a tribe of healthy, wealthy, and generous men who seek to live life to the fullest. He also serves as a managing partner at R360, a league of extraordinary, ultra-high net worth individuals who look to expand upon their remarkable achievements and thrive in the company of their peers. And that is why he is on Thrive Loud today. Thrive Loud listeners, Chris Ryan. Chris, how are you today?
Outstanding. And by the way, for the record, no matter what happens for the remaining 30 minutes of this call, you, my friend, may have the best podcast voice I have ever heard. Your cadence, your tone, your inflection, it's outstanding. And my suspicion is that regardless of what I say, just off of your voice, people are going to listen.
Well, that's a given. And I thank you for that compliment. There are others out there who, might sound a little bit better. And there's certain voiceover guys who are at the top of this show who, probably be like, well, what's that guy, Lou? Doesn't he have a voice? But your energy, my energy is feeding off of you, Chris, because let's talk about this. Okay. As I've read in this bio, you are doing some pretty cool, fun stuff right now. And this is what I love. I love connectors. I love people who are all about bringing the value of other people together and figuring out how to make things tick and work. I want to understand how this became your gig. So Chris, can I do a little rewind? I'm not going all the way back. By the way, I learned, folks, that we're from similar neighborhoods, similar areas. The guy's from Yonkers. He knows where really good pizza and really good food is. I don't want to go all the way back there, but I want to go to how this thing became your gig, this connecting these amazing people. First of all, maybe you can even share what was your line of work that brought you to this level of success and bringing with these folks. Can we go there? Is that a good place to kick off?
Yeah, we can definitely talk about my line of work. My line of work has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. So by background, I'm a technology entrepreneur, built and sold a bunch of technology companies all throughout the 90s. I got significantly more gray hair than you do, brother. So I got a few years on you.
I don't have any hair. I have no hair. Don't even go there.
So what I've done professionally that completely did not prepare me for what I'm doing now is I built and sold a bunch of tech companies. That was great, and that was wonderful. The tipping point that occurred in 1996 is I happened to sit in a room to hear a guy named Bob Buford speak. He wrote a book called Halftime, which is all about man's transition from success to significance. And I almost had maybe the most existential moment of my life, in so much as I felt compelled, drawn, almost like there was a force pulling me to learn more about this. And I spent, you remember the movie Wall Street with Charlie Sheen sitting outside the office of Gordon Gekko for a year. I spent the better part of a year trying to get on his schedule. Finally sat down with him. Long story short, asked him if he would be willing to disciple me. He did from 1997 through 2001 when he had a stroke and lost the ability to speech. And I realized that my purpose in life was to help other people achieve theirs and get off of, with a lot of the folks that I work with, get off of this material, ego, hedonic treadmill and find truly what is the most fulfilling, satisfying, meaningful, purposeful, and significant aspects of their life.
Okay, I love this. And I know our listeners do too. And I think this is so great, because I think maybe there was a generation of us, or even a generation before that, that was very directed into one particular thing, make as much money as you can, or, figure out whatever, what was that old expression in the 80s? The one with the most toys, who dies with the most toys wins.
Yeah, greed is good. Gordon Gekko. Right?
Greed is good. Gordon Gekko. There was definitely a whole part of that. And a lot of that led to a lot of emptiness, right? Yeah. All the money in the world, that doesn't give you all the value, but also doing these things that are focused on helping yourself, your value, and all of this, it leads to so much better things, not just for others. It is a selfless way of thinking about things. But being able to then have that belief and then figure out a good way to do it is a challenge. How did you navigate and connect this moment in life where you said, I know exactly this is an important piece of where I want to go? And how did this direction of both R360 and GoBundance, because they have some similar components, how did they come?
So it was in Dallas, Texas, at a coffee shop, a diner, in early 2014 that I sat down with a friend of mine named Bill Case. And Bill, super successful guy, multimillionaire, was getting to retire from running this organization called Tiger 21 that he had here in Dallas. And he kind of explained Tiger 20 to me at the high level. And he asked me if I would be interested in running his group and inheriting, in effect, his business here in Texas, Central Texas. And my original response, because I had no idea what I was talking about, was no. You want me to babysit a bunch of rich old white guys? No interest. Moving on. And he, of course, is like, no, you asshole. I want you to change their lives and do everything that you and I have been talking about for the last decade. And then when he said that, I'm in. So I started this dance at Tiger 21 back in 2014 of the 20 or so folks that did what I did in different markets across the country. I honestly was dead last, right? I have the least financial background. I'm not an academician. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a multi-millionaire to the levels that they were. And so I realized early on, I was either going to succeed or fail based on what I believe was most important to these high net wealth individuals. And as you would expect, and coming in as no surprise, money rarely made the top five. Yeah. What these people were concerned about, first were their relationships. Second was their health. Third was their legacy. Fourth was creating impact with others that may or may not be within their circle of influence. And so what I decided to do was to pivot and to talk less about the income, investment, financial aspect of Tiger 21, but more about what we call the soft skills, or the relational, or the value side. And using a lot of the learnings that I had when I was sitting with Bob Buford for many years when he was pouring into me, I not only made a transition for the group, but I really made a transformation for myself. Mm-hmm. And I realized in no short order that this is where I wanted to be. And this was truly my calling in life, and it's where I belong.
So let's talk about that transition, and maybe even with the others, even though that was their priorities, to get others to get into the hooks and understand basically that, the ability to live their life to their fullest, or be able to make that what this group's focus. Was that a universal acceptance within the group that they were on the same page as you wanted them to be?
Absolutely not. Not even close, right? They're like, why aren't you reading the Financial Times? Chris, you need to be taking graduate school courses in finance, right? They were giving me all of the shit that they expected from me. But here's the deal, and if I'm being just completely honest with you and your listeners, had I gone down that path, I would not be speaking to you. I would have been fired early because I suck at it, to be perfectly candid. I'm not good. Here's where I am good. I am good in helping unravel the complexity and oftentimes the bullshit that we cover ourselves in, or we quilt ourselves in, that seems like it's important, but is really not. Who cares how many ones and zeros in your bank account if you don't have a good relationship with your spouse or your kids? Who gives a rat's rear about your next investment device if you're struggling, God forbid, with a health issue? At the end of our days, the question is really simple. Are you living, as David Brooks says, are you living for your resume, or are you living for your eulogy?
Hmm.
because we have this dynamic fight that goes on with each and every one of us. We have our ego self and we have our soul self. The ego self says money, fame, success, pretty wife, pretty husband, accomplishment, accolades. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The soul self says joy, happiness, fulfillment, satiation, impact, and value greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
And you think about if there's someone, if you got a best friend or a spouse that you want to give the eulogy at your funeral many, many years from now, because you're a young guy, what do you want them to say? And if you're truly wanting them to talk about your ego self and the deals and the money and the accomplishment, then I feel sorry for you and you should too. However, if you can spend your life, especially as you get older, recognizing that the soul self, the eulogy virtues are what ultimately is most important, not only to you, but to your spouse and to your kids and to the people who you love and who love you, that to me is a mission, a passion, and a journey of life well lived.
Chris, it's really interesting. We do this exercise in some of the workshops I've done with some of the clients, and we call it the deathbed thought process, right? If you're looking back at your life and you're understanding all the things that you've rolled up, right? And you're about to go and you're hopefully in a warm bed and possibly surrounded by those you love. You don't care what the 10-year treasury is doing. You don't care where the stock market's at, what investments you've made or lost. It really comes down to two things. Was I appreciated? Was I loved? And did I love and did I appreciate? And I think what's so great is that getting people to make that shift in their perspective to understand that in their earlier years and not when they're old and gray haired to make that shift is doable. And as you start to see more of your mortality, your health and your wealth, those things get there. How do you bring it forward? How do you help to bring the same mindset that is so important really for what really matters in this life to people who are younger that haven't, accomplished all those pieces, and use that as a methodology to carry that momentum so that others can carry that at an earlier age?
So I want to answer that question. But you said something that triggered a thought in my mind that I think is worth sharing to you and your listeners. You had what you call the deathbed conversations, and the way that you framed that was beautiful. I have an ugly version of that at times can be both joyful and terrifying. Yeah. And what I call it the last chat. Yeah. And to your example, your family has just left you. They've given your kisses goodbye. You're on your deathbed. The monitor's blinking, and somebody rolls into the room, and you can't really identify who they are. And then you realize very quickly that it's you, but it's not you as you sit on your deathbed or lay on your deathbed, but rather it's the optimal you. Yeah. It's you fully lived, fully realized, fully achieved in all aspects. And you realize, of course, by the roll of the dice in our life, we can be kings, we can be paupers, we can be soldiers, we can be peacekeepers. I mean, the spectrum is wide in terms of our profession. There's so many rolls of the dice with all of us, but what doesn't change are the character, values, morals, and ethics of who we are. And I have used this specific example in this thought process to help script the life of these unbelievably successful and significant men in terms of the empires and the fiefdoms they have, because that last chat can be terrifying for the person who is focused on the wrong things. Yeah. And the challenge with people, especially the ultra high net wealth folks that I work with later in life, is they've achieved a lot, but it's usually come at some kind of a cost. Usually there's something that suffered: relationships, health, friends, whatever the case may be. And the gift that I have been able to bring to bear with R360, which is a global family office of centimillionaires and billionaires, and the world that I inhabit with GoBundance, is the ability to help dial in their focus on this significance piece. You asked me how I did that. There's a book that I could not recommend highly enough. It's called More Than Money. It's written by one of my very best friends by the name of Michael Cole. And he talks about the 6 forms of capital: financial, intellectual, social, human, emotional, and spiritual. And for the purposes of you, for the purposes of you in the form of a couple, you and your wife, or you and your husband, and then in the context of your children and your future heirs, if you're not focusing on all forms, all 6 forms of that capital, then you are leaving not only something on the table, but you're creating a hole that can become a valley, that can become a risk, that can become the doom of your family legacy. Yeah. And I've seen that happen over, and matter of fact, that failure curve, usually 3 generations long, is much more the rule than it is the exception.
You know, that's so spot on. I once spoke to a group, and this was like 3rd generation family businesses. And I learned from this group that there's an 8% survival rate of a company getting from the 3rd generation to the next generation. Usually, even it keeps dwindling down. And there are so many reasons to it. But also, I think what you're on to something really important here. It's understanding the priorities of all the things that you just listed as values versus what the others are. And they also, the thing that they need to let go of, which is the bridge of the feeling they need to, to match up to the earlier generation, or match up to the original one, or let someone down. When those aren't your core tenets of what you're trying to do, then you're missing the whole point. I just listened to Anderson Cooper's audiobook of the Vanderbilt family, The Rise and Fall, which was fascinating. Wow. Go listen to it, because it doesn't even, he's the last of the Vanderbilts, interestingly, but it's the absolute destruction that family had, from the incredible amounts of wealth to what it fell to, because so much of the value of how they looked at things were not anywhere in alignment with what GoBundance or what you're all about. It was the exact opposite of it. And it's really, I think that's so important for so many different companies or so many different people on the way they should be thinking about it. So just for a record, kudos to you. I'm on board with your whole concept here. I want to know what you guys are doing. Help understand the listeners exactly what this group and how they're going about doing it, or if you're allowed to share what you can here.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. So a few things. The first thing is, we're in interesting times right now. You don't need me to tell you that. And what's interesting is, to everyone I speak to, especially some of the folks that are more senior to me, that I really consider mentors in all walks of life, we're about to hit some pretty choppy waters. And I'm not just talking about the economy. Yes, the economy. We're going to hit choppy waters in the economy. But I'm also talking about the decline of America as a global power. That's going on right now, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. I'm also talking about Ukraine and Russia and China and Taiwan. There are a lot of moving pieces. And at some point in time, we roll the dice. And, there's certain folks that I've spoken to that thinks that we could inflame Ukraine and Russia into something more than that. Same thing with the saber rattling that's going on between China and Taiwan. We're about to have a pretty significant food crisis, as you may know. Gas prices. I was pumping gas in my car earlier today. I'm in Texas, right, where we produce the majority of the oil for the United States. And I think it was like $4.79. I think it may have been, premium was like over $5. I mean, that's crazy.
To all our California listeners, we apologize. We are now paying $7 a gallon, by the way. I can tell you it's absolutely ludicrous, but at the time we're recording this in late June. But anyway, yes, it is crazy. We're right. We're on the cusp of, we've been on it, but I agree with you that it's worse. The worst part hasn't hit us yet.
Not even close. And so one of the things I'm doing with all the organizations that I'm involved with is, we're looking now to prepare for what will come and whatever the eventualities may be. So as an example, with GoBundance, we have a call series that we're actually launching tomorrow night. We'll have 500-600 people on the call, and it's entitled Navigating Through Choppy Waters. And we can't predict where we're going to be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now, but we can prepare. Yeah. And what's interesting, and you know this, right? You know this, when you get a group of people around you that you respect, you admire, you trust, no one has an agenda. We're all just here to help each other out. Really good things can happen. Why? Because you can be open in your communication. You don't have to worry about trust. That's not an issue. And, in the context of our call tomorrow night, we'll do 90 minutes of best practices, because, I'm 54 years old. I've been through 2008. I've been through the tech bubble bursting in 2001. I mean, I've weathered those storms in the past, so I pretty much know what's going to go on, and I'm pretty prepared for it. There are a lot of young people that for the last 12, 13, 14 years have been insanely successful in real estate or technology or healthcare, whatever the case may be. They haven't seen this. This is a storm, the likes of which they don't know. And how important to all of us to prepare everybody, the veterans and the new kids on the block, for whatever's coming, and not just prepare them, but protect them, their spouses and their families, and give them the highest likelihood of walking through this thing in as best a place as possible. And if they're 30 years old or they're 80 years old, there's lessons to be learned.
I was going to say, and you kind of were hinting to this, that I have a feeling you love a good challenge, and you're looking for the silver lining within this, which is now what I'll ask is, what about this uncertainty and this different things that you're most excited about, where there's a great opportunity, and I guess to help people. And I think I get it. It's to prepare them for all this. Yes.
So, and that takes a few forms. So you think about the last 2 years with respect to COVID. I would suggest to you that one of the many silver linings to COVID is it forced us to look at ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe it was self-help books. Maybe it was exercising, but maybe it was doubling down on your relationship with your spouse. We had to look at ourselves because we had nothing else going on. The world in which we live is built for distraction. I got a cell phone. I got an iPad. I got another phone over here. I'm talking to you on my MacBook Air. There are 10,000 ways that I can distract myself. How amazing that I can be in peace and reread Bob Buford's book, Halftime. You know, how great is it that I'm looking at David Sinclair's book, Lifespan, right next to me. In the face of adversity, one of the best investments that we can make is in ourselves, because the return on investment there, my friend, is infinite. And that goes double for our spouse and infinitely for our children.
Love it. I want to ask this question because I'm curious, and I have an idea where it's going to go, but our listeners, who knows where this is going to go? Because Chris Ryan he's got the energy, he's got the mojo, he's got the right thing, and he's been thriving throughout his whole career in all the different ups and downs, which is what makes you here on this program and what makes you thrive on most days. But yet we all have those days when we're not quite kicking on all cylinders and we're a little off our game. I would love to know, Chris, what practice do you take on, or maybe which individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track when you're off your game?
So there are a few ways I can answer that question. I'm going to take a crack at two. So the first way I would answer that question is, I believe one of the greatest gifts in life is gratitude. Specifically, I do a gratitude prayer twice a day. I do a gratitude prayer when I wake up, and I do a gratitude prayer when I go to bed. So it kind of bookends my day. And I think of, and I'm sure your listeners do this too, I think of three things that I'm grateful for. And I think of, like tonight, I may say, hey, so glad to meet Lou Diamond. He seems like a great guy. We more or less grew up in the same neighborhood. We're 20 years apart, but for all intents and purposes, we could have been brothers. All right. As an example, thank you. And I find that when times are good, gratitude humbles you. And when times are bad, gratitude strengthens you. Mm-hmm. So the gratitude prayer that I do every morning and night is a daily routine that has provided me the grace and the fortitude, especially when times are bad. There's still something to be grateful for. I'm breathing. I'm alive. I live in the greatest country in the world. So gratitude, that's the first answer to that question. The second answer to that question is a little darker. I come from a family of alcoholism and abuse as a kid growing up, not too dissimilar for a lot of the families that we knew. So nothing special there. But when I was 17 years old, I wound up going to college in Texas. I wound up going to the University of Texas at Austin, totally planning on getting a tennis scholarship and playing on the UT tennis team and write my own meal ticket. Didn't make it on the UT tennis team. Parents cut me off financially, literally on my 18th birthday. And I had about 3 months to figure it out. Otherwise, I was going to be kicked out of school because I had no money. I was looking through the student services fee list, and I saw counseling services there. And long story short, the greatest education I got in college was not my academic education. It was the counseling services. And what it taught me was this: all of us, no matter how competitive, no matter how type A, all of us are enough.
Yeah.
And if you can accept the fact that you're enough, then every day is a gift. And this today may be a hard day, today may be an easy day, but man, you know what? I am alive. I am here. I got a world around me that I truly appreciate. And it's enough if nothing changes. And if I'm lucky, and if I work hard, and if I try hard, and I make some good things happen, it's even better, but it's enough.
Yeah. Listeners need to know I'm grateful for two reasons. One, that we have Chris on the program here today. And two, that I'm only 2 years younger than he is, and he thinks I'm 20 years younger. So I feel good about that today, Chris. I'm
Man, I just want to know what filter you're using on your camera. Son of a gun.
This is no filter. I just don't have gray. I'm just balding, you know, I'm smiling and living life each and every day, man. I'm thriving loud. That's what we do here. Let's do this, Chris, and then we're going to do Fun Street. Share with the listeners the admin part of the show, all the places people can find you, search you out, look for you. We'll put it on the show notes, but it gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Yeah, so the websites are simple. It's www.GoBundance, GoBundance.com. It's also r360global.com, www.r360global.com. That'll get you to kind of like the landing pages of the world. R360, as I may have shared with you before the call, is for ultra high net wealth investors that started $100 million and then go up into the billionaire space within the GoBundance community. It's a tribe of millionaires. So it starts at one, and I think our wealthiest is probably 500 or 600 million. I'm happy to serve in whatever capacity I can. If you reach out to those websites, you're welcome to click on my contact information and reach out to me. You know, at the end of the day, it's easy for me to say where you can find me. But as you well know, our mission, what you're doing with this podcast, you're serving, right? Mm-hmm. You're creating exclamation points in life with the people that are listening to you. And so here's the goal. Here's the ask. I don't need to affect anyone in particular, nor do you, but maybe there's someone who hears something that you say or something that I say that feels inspired. Maybe there's someone like I was in the room with Bob Buford back in 1996 when he first spoke on Halftime that feels compelled to learn, to understand more. You know, it's interesting, but I offered Bob Buford absolutely nothing as a 27, 28-year-old punk sitting down and visiting with this really, really successful guy. And yet that man poured into me selflessly for years. And now I have the joy and the privilege to give that back to multiple communities. Yeah. So if we can do that for anyone else in whatever way, shape, or form that shows up, I'm pretty much all in.
You ready to go down Fun Street with me here, Mr. Ryan?
Sure.
All right, Christopher Ryan. What we do here on Fun Street is we kick things off by asking, we want to learn more about you. We want to know where you connect. And we would love to know if there's a particular movie in your life that you love to watch or rewatch, or one that connects specifically with you.
So I'm probably the most culturally illiterate person. You know, I'm a total nerd. I read books, I watch YouTube channels, I work out, I sleep. My girlfriend will tell you I eat too much food, all good. So what comes to mind is, do you recall the book, The Prince of Tides?
Of course, yes.
Right? So Nick Nolte, Elliot Gould, Barbara Streisand starred and directed it. I thought that was probably one of the most brilliantly done movies. Yeah. And candidly, the way that Barbara Streisand unravels Nick Nolte is unfortunately not too dissimilar from the way I was unwound in college. And so emotionally, I feel very connected to that movie.
That is, I mean, it's obviously no spoiler alerts here. Listeners, go see the movie Prince of Tides if you haven't seen it. But to watch someone who went through a lot of trouble and what a breakdown that was, and to actually go through what had to have been the most horrific thing ever for a young boy, what he went through, that she decodes. It is, you're 100% right. It is not only well done, but the back and forth of how it's pieced together is really, really great. I mean, she got nominated, I remember, for Best Director. I don't think she won, but it was a great movie. Good one. I like that one, Prince of Tides. We haven't hit that one here.
I mean, I could be a guy and tell you all the horror and sci-fi movies and action flicks, but when you brought that up earlier as a prerequisite to our call, that's what came to mind.
Awesome. We're going to do the speed round here. I think you're going to do incredibly well here, mostly because there are no wrong answers here, and these are just your answers. I'm going to ask you something. I want the first thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah.
Things that lift you up, motivate you, make you feel good, basically make you thrive. Ready? Okay. Of late, a song that you love to hear, or maybe one that pumps you up.
Okay, so my daughter is a singer-songwriter going to Belmont in Nashville, Tennessee, is crushing it.
Oh, wow.
And she wrote a song called Good for a Song, which is all about a failed date that she went on. And the only thing that this dude was good for was a song. And it premiered on Spotify and Apple Music. And it has gotten a ridiculous amount of listens and views. She wrote it when she was 18. We recorded it maybe 9 months ago. It came out about 3 months ago on all the different channels.
Yeah.
It is raging.
Okay,
well.
What is the name of the song? We're going to.
The song is called "Good for a Song." My daughter's name is Bishop Abigail Ryan. She goes by Bishop Abigail, and it is both deep, funny, and absolutely true in terms of the way this date failed miserably for her.
We will only increase the amount of listens by plugging it here, and we'll probably play it underneath us at some point in this episode. So if with her permission, of course. But of course, that sounds great. Awesome. All right. I asked you what song you wanted to hear. What's your favorite food that's not a dessert?
So I'm working on cutting the LBs, and I have discovered duck and lamb. Ooh. And what's the gift about both of those is it jacks up my metabolism, so I physically get flush and get hot. And I think I may be the only person that I'm aware of that can eat lamb and actually lose weight. I'm not making this up.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it's mostly fatty, right? Both are pretty fatty, I guess.
However it works on my system, man. My system responds to it well, and I will go to sleep at about 2:16, 2:17, wake up at 2:15. And am usually down about half a pound or more each time I eat it. So I'm going down the keto lamb duck diet.
All righty, I like it. A favorite dessert?
So okay, you know what I'm going to say because it's New York cheesecake, right? I mean, right? Yeah.
I had a
layup on that one.
I figured it was going to go there, which was actually going to get to this, which was, I know since you're from originally from New York. When you come to New York, or the last time you're in New York, or even maybe when you're a kid, because it might not be around anymore, was there a pizza place that was like your go-to pizza place?
So, yeah, it was Ray's, of course, right? It was
the original.
Of course, the original Ray's. I mean, come on, right? And it's honestly, it's like going to Dunkin' Donuts. It's not Ray's Pizza. It's not Dunkin' Donuts. It's that when my father would go to a baseball game or a football game, or we would go to the US Open to watch tennis, we'd always stop at Ray's.
Yeah.
Or my parents had an absolute piece of junk, wood paneled purple Pontiac station wagon that smelled of wet dog. And every time we would take a trip, we would get Dunkin' Donuts. My mom and dad would get coffee. They'd give me everything from apple fritters to jelly rolls, whatever the case may be. And so it's less the food, it's more the memories of some of the best times in my childhood that are connected to it.
I totally agree with that. An activity you wish you did more of?
Spend time with my daughter, period. Now she would come back and she would say, I would prefer to spend less time with my dad.
that's she's not the guest on the show. Chris Ryan is the guest on the show, not Bishop Abigail. Okay. An activity you wish you did less of?
Work.
Okay.
They do you've heard this times before. What do you regret most on your deathbed? What do you wish you would have done? The questions that you're asking me. And we all work too much. And I want to, in the not too distant future, get to a point where I can absolutely trade money for time. Time with my daughter, time with my girlfriend, time with my family, time with my friends, time with my charity organizations. We're not here to grind ourselves into a grave.
Yeah.
We're here in whatever ways that we can to change the world. And I got to do more of that.
If I could snap my fingers, Chris Ryan, and you could be anywhere in the world, Where are you?
I'm here. I'm here doing what I'm doing. Right. What I do in all of my life is a very deliberate choice. And I am grateful and I am blessed and I am lucky to be in this chair and doing what I do, up to and including talking to you, my friend.
Chris Ryan from GoBundance. Check it out. We will put all the links in the show notes. God, truly a pleasure to have you, man, on the show today. Thank you so much. And
you're really good at this. I'm grateful to have met you.
Right back at you. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.